Kia ora whānau, welcome back to Kaitiaki Māra Kai. Well, we have just had a whole lot of rain in the last couple of weeks. Pretty much once I had planted this mara here, it started raining on us, and so my seedlings, except for the spring onions, haven't done too well. Yeah, so they've been a bit hammered, especially down the end here and on that side. So I'm hoping it'll dry out a little bit, and we'll see some growth in there. What I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to turn my compost pile, and here it is here. If you've looked at some of our, if you've been following us, you would have seen our compost pile here. We're in autumn for those that are watching overseas, and I appreciate that. I really do appreciate those who tune in and watch us over in the States, over in Europe, and around Asia and that. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking the time to have a look what we're doing here. We are a garden project in Northland that we're trying to encourage folk to get back into their own backyard gardens, particularly around for the idea of food security and sustainability. The other part about it is the carbon that we have problems up in the sky. We can actually put it back down in the soil, and gardening is one of those approaches to that. So yeah, if you have a look at what they call, look up drawdown, there's a whole group in scientific community around the idea of actually putting carbon back into the soil, and you can actually hold it in the soil. And some of the conversations around there is actually we can reverse the carbon that's in the sky or held up in the atmosphere over a 30 to 60 year window, which will reverse the problems that we're having here with too much carbon in the atmosphere. We do need carbon. Plants live off it. But having gardening, and particularly with the roots, with root crops, you just cut it off at the base, and the carbon that's taken into the plant stays in that soil. So this is our way of doing that. So not only looking about how do we help our environment, but also about food security and sustainability for whānau, because you know, vegetables at the moment with inflation going on is crazy. So yeah. Anyway, task today is our compost. Turn that over. This is one of 3 options that we're doing here. I'll explain the third option soon, which if you do a general Google search around composting, they'll show you it. But we've got this tool here. We're just toiling it over. In other words, let it sit for a little while in the pile, then rotate it. And basically we're getting the center, all that stuff on the outside, putting it into the center, and it breaks down, and worms get in there and all that type of stuff. This idea here, Jeff Lawton, who is based in Australia, he's pretty much the guru around permaculture, so you can look up him around that type of stuff. But this idea I got from one of his examples for a 10-day compost activity that he did. I'm doing this over a month. The other one is we have a mara along the back fence there, or over there, and then a compost area where surplus stuff we are just dropping in, which is just in there, and that's just breaking down. And then what I'll do, generally at the start of each season, I will take the lower stuff and then just drop it on the garden that's just over there, which was in the summer garden. And the next one we're doing is the worm farm, which you see there in the bath in the background. You can look at some other videos what we've done on that. But we are putting in materials in there, brown green, to feed our worms, and they both give us worm castings, which is the poop, which we can put into the garden, and also fertilizer, which is the slime that comes off the worms. I was in there today having a bit of a look at it, and there's heaps of worms. So if you look back on a couple of videos around our worm farm, you'll see that we sourced our worms from Worms for Us. Now we're not getting paid or anything, but that's the local supplier in Auckland, Worms are Us, and they shipped up I think it was 1/2 kilogram of worms, plus I got some coconut husks, and that was the starting basis of that. That bath now is probably 3/4 full of worms from different sizes. yeah, it's pretty stoked actually. So I will find that they will start munching down the materials in there pretty quickly soon. So we just need to keep up with it. So those are the three options that we have here. Third option, if you look at it, is whether you do compost bays. And so you might utilise or upcycle old pallets and put them into bays. And an example, you have 3 bays where your first bay is where all your raw, fresh material goes into. You let that break down a bit, and then you tip that into the next bay, set bay 2, and you might leave that for a bit. So let's say, for example, each cycle might be a month. So month 1 is bay 1, month 2, bay 3, bay 2, month 2, bay 2, month 3, bay 3, for example. And by the time you get to bay 3, or if you've got 4, then that's really just to put into your mutter. Good thing about that is you're now starting to create compost material that's good for your garden, and you can just keep adding it back. So that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to turn that over, and yeah, I'll show you what that looks like. So I'll just go and open this up and give you an idea of what I'm going to do, and then we'll do it. Okay, see you soon. So here we go. Here is the compost that was underneath the tarp, and effectively all I'm going to do, and already it's dropped down quite a bit, because when we started it was probably up to about there. So it's already broken around. See, it's starting to get brown. So all I'm going to do is take the edge stuff, put it into the centre, and might need to give it a bit of moisture. And at the same time, what it does is I start to encourage worms in our mutter. And we're starting to get, worms and soil happening. It's coming through, and then this will be another garden that we'll do. But that's what I'll do. We'll just start toiling this, tipping it over. See the dark riches. Looking good. It's not too warm at the moment, so I have to do something about that. We want a bit of temperature in there. Okay, yeah, so that's what we're going to do, whānau. Yeah, kia ora whānau. Back in our compost pile. I've just started digging it, and I've gotten to the centre. There's a bit of warmth coming through here. I actually need that a little bit warmer, but it's breaking down. I did add some further greens, and that's breaking down, warm. The composting is starting to come along well. So when we started this, it was all green, and see how it's just starting to brown off. But I do need it to be a little bit warmer than what it is. But it's coming along all right. Go bye. Yeah, welcome back, whānau. So here's our pile moved. Just stacked it up, put a bit of moisture back in there, and so you would have seen that it was over there. Just stand up. So it was here, just moved it over. So effectively taking the outside materials, putting it into the centre, and just keep rotating it around. And as you can see, like look at that. All that material in there, it's encouraging, the weeds have died off, and I'll broad fork that, and this will become part of a mutter. So what I'm doing by moving back and forward, I'm actually creating the mutter underneath, and I'm actually encouraging the worms to start to come up and break this down, and them moving around will soften up the soil, because at the moment it's all compacted, because it's never been, well, in my time it's never been used as a garden. So I'm encouraging the worms, and then I'll put a broad fork down, and I'll use this as my compost to lay in there. Yeah, but pretty happy with how that's going. It's an easy process. How do you do it? You pretty much put down your materials that you want in there, and you think of 3 things. greens, carbon, so brown, and then you might have some accelerants that you put in there, so likes of dried out sheep poo or cow poo or manure of some sort, and then you just add it and mix it in there, and eventually, as you'll start to see, it's all starting to brown up, and it's not, you know, even the branches and now all the foliage that was on the branches breaking down too. Yeah, so I'll now just put my tarp back on top, so I'm wanting to keep the warmth in there and encourage the activity inside the soil and the creation of all the microorganisms and the biomaterials inside there to be active, and then that becomes food for our mara, compost. Okay, all right. As you see, we're in it's autumn evening here in Northern and Kaikohe, and a backyard. We're turning our backyard into a garden space. So this is my winter garden, and I want to put another mother over here before it gets too cold. And here is, if I walk through here, hey gets around. Here is the last of our summer harvest. So I put a bit of grass clippings down just as mulch, but we pretty much had 2 lots of potatoes, 2 lots of kumara, massive rows of 2 rows of lettuces, variations, silver beet, carrots, tomatoes, got some kale here, broccoli, lots of the cabbages just there, celery, what else do we have? Anyways, lots of vegetables, variations of it. So what I'm going to be doing now in that bit, just that patch there, I'll get some more compost and we'll plant out our garlic. So I'll use that from pretty much where that silver beet is there. I'll use that square bit for my garlic, and that'll be the garlic space. But the first thing I'll put in here is probably some kumara, because the potatoes have had a good run in here, so I'll probably end up in the back garden and put my potatoes in there. Yeah, but I'm pretty happy with it. It's been good. We had our peru just down here and then here. Yeah, transitioning from that mara into over here. Alright, partner. Hey, click the like button, share it around, and if you want to join our community, subscribe, because there's always the subscribing and clicking the like button happens the old AI stuff inside the system. And if you want to support what we're doing or get a bit of coaching and mentoring around backyard gardens, we do have a Patreon private community where you can join us, and I do some other videos, longer videos, and or further comments. I do a monthly newsletter over there that you can have a look at. Gives you some jungle tips around gardening, but you can pick a tier, what suits you and what you're able to contribute to what we do. We like to scale this to other gardens, and we're doing another one later in this week, and I'll put some videos up about that. We're going back to the site that we visited 2 weeks ago, and we're just getting that ready for the guys to go in on Saturday to get that soil ready. Yeah, but yeah, most welcome to join us and help that way. Okay, alrighty. Wherever you are watching, I really appreciate that you've hung around this long, and thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking the time to watch what we do. Really appreciate that. Make some comments. give us some tips from your part of the world where you're from, and what's your experience with your backyard garden. Okay, hei kona.